Alright, this is Scott Augustine for CardRunners.com, and I'm going to be today continuing part 2 of the obvious precursor, which would be part 1, which, if you haven't seen it, probably it would be helpful to just give a frame of reference as to what the goals of the video series are and whatnot. But it won't be like you're too lost, because I believe in a few moments I will be kind of changing tables, maybe like 10 minutes of real footage into the video. So we'll see how that goes and make sure that there's try to be as little discontinuity as possible. The last hand we went over from part 1 was where this player on the button opened Jack 10 on the small blind into my big blind. We defended with Ace 10, flop 7-4-4. He bets, we call, turns a Jack with a backdoor hard draw coming. He checks, we check, rivers an ace, he checks, and we bet, and he calls with Jack 10. So I went over how I thought he needed to probably change how he was playing there a bit, but that said, that happened. In the bottom right, it's a spot that I had reserved for replayer hands, and there's a hand that I'm going to go over in a couple moments that I think we definitely could have been arguing that we made a couple of minor errors, but I think he made a major error, so I wanted to go over that situation. So all three tables have some action right now. We defended 7-9 suited to a button min raise. This is an ante-table with a player who hadn't played a hand yet over our 9-hand sample. So we're probably just trying to take advantage of the direct odds we're getting, flop some pretty big hands, and bottom pair on a Queen 10-9 all club board when we have no club is not one of them. So we're just going to find an easy check fold there. Bottom left, I think the situation is pretty marginal. Pocket fives to a 2.5x open, I think, is right on the border of acceptable to defend there. If it was a min raise, I would definitely be defending. 3x, definitely not. So it's good to look at some really borderline situations and see how we can try to attack them. And then the top right, we open Jack 9 offsuit on the button, get flatted by both players, and this is a spot where a while ago I might have c-bet this board more often, but I think these days I'm finding a lot more value in checking back some hands that would have been maybe a year and a half ago standard c-bets from the population. So I think going forward, I'll try to point out some of those spots. As for this guy, who knows what he has? It's hard to tell. Our opponent in the bottom left checks back twice on a 4-turn, and then on an ace river, I believe, bets, and we check fold. So putting him on quite a few, like ace 10s, ace queens, maybe ace 3 suited type hands. And then in the top right, with the texture in it being multi-way, we don't want to give the small blind a really cheap overpeel, closing the action with a lot of hands that will probably have quite a bit of equity against us. And he's very unlikely to be putting in any check raises here, especially by hands that we beat. He's much more likely on this texture to just lead them, because I'm expected probably check behind quite often. This guy may stab, but it just works better for small blind's range to be leading quite often here if he is going to continue. So we don't have to worry too much about him. On the sizing, I think 52's fine. I think I could go a little bit bigger. And I can balance this out with some semi-bluffs, such as like King 7, Queen 7 of diamonds. Because he's most likely against those hands going to like 3-bet, or we get like an immediate fold, or he's going to 3-bet. And we can peel those 3-bets quite often, assuming that we can kind of balance all of those things out. The one thing that we have working against us in this hand is that we're perceived to bet all straight draws. So the open-ender definitely perceived to bet on the flop. The 10-7 suited and the Queen 10 offsuits and suited varieties would be gutters on the flop on a Jack-high rainbow board. We do expect to bet there, so we just have to be conscious of what our range looks like. It's kind of a big lead here. Looks like he's really trying to get folds out of like our ace-8 type hands that decide to check behind and such. So we decide to raise on this turn, and I make it 52. I think I'd like to go a little bit bigger, but I don't think. I think that's kind of splitting hairs at that point.